have even called this Tombstone Lane. But even in Tombstone Lane, which makes up most of this chapter, it's briefly interrupted with the life of Enoch. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, is the most righteous of all men. Verse 22 says that Enoch walked with God. Now, the phraseology that's used signifies to walk about or to live in close intimacy and fellowship. Enoch had close intimacy and fellowship with God. Enoch had a close personal relationship with God. And we went to Jude last week, Jude 14 and 15, and it records, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied these, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their harsh speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him, or against God. Now, we can't say for sure, but it's quite likely that Enoch was severely persecuted for his walk with God. It signifies or indicates that this generation that Enoch lived in was a wicked generation. That he probably suffered some persecution for walking close to God and having that close, intimate fellowship with God. Listen, this day and time now, there's a whole lot of people who don't care about you in a relationship with God. They don't care to hear about it. Matter of fact, it makes some people angry. And some people will ridicule you. Some people will persecute you and over that matter. But because the content of his message was very pointed and very powerful in his condemnation of evil. Well, today, if you tell someone that a certain thing is sin, a certain thing is evil, and it's sin, and you got, like was mentioned last night, you got no right to judge me. You know? Well, judge not, lest you be judged. And anytime anytime somebody throws that up at me, I say, well, how about tell me what the rest of that chapter says? They don't know. They couldn't begin to tell you. And tell me what the context is. They can't even tell you the context. All they know is judge not lest you be judged. Well, there's a context to that, and there's a balance to all that. And so, but that's probably the way it was in Enoch's day. They didn't like the relationship because Enoch expounded righteousness. He preached to them. He told them about the evil that they were committing, and people don't like to hear that. Anytime you tell them, people don't like to be told they're wrong nowadays. They just don't like to be told they're wrong. Even when they sometimes even know they're wrong, they don't like to be told they're wrong. And so Enoch, his experience evidently involved special revelation that he received from God, and he proclaimed that revelation. And today, again, in this society, when you proclaim it, that God has revealed this thing, that from the Word of God, you've received some revelation, and God is saying this, thus saith the Lord, this is what God's saying, this is what God's speaking, or God's giving you a vision, or God's giving you a message, and it lines up with the Word, and you put that out. There's people who want to ridicule you, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to believe it, they think you're a goofball, they think you're off your rocker, and they think a number of things, and they probably thought the same thing about Enoch, because when you get to chapter 6, we certainly won't get there today, we'll come back there another time. But when you get to chapter 6, you see how Noah was severely ridiculed. It had gotten even worse by the time Noah had come along. And so we're living in a society like that. Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Well, if we aren't as wicked now as mankind was in the days of Noah, I don't know how much further we got to go to get there. Because we are there, I believe. And so I don't believe it's much longer before the Lord himself does descend with a shout. But so he walked with God, and what the Bible does here describes a perfect fellowship of the Garden of Eden. Enoch walked with God. Enoch was probably one of the first ones that actually walked and had this kind of relationship with God since Adam had fallen. When Adam was created, Adam had that relationship with God. Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. And so when Adam fell, the genealogy, like we said last week, it wasn't a pretty sight. A lot of